Back at it again with the Mobius Dickus, chapter 93, The Castaway. So I think this is one of Melville's most enigmatic chapters in Moby Dick. It's got a lot of challenging stuff in it in terms of imagery and ideas, but ultimately I do think it tracks with the other concepts that we've been looking at throughout the text. So first I want to acknowledge that Pip is described. Obviously the Castaway is the story of Pip and Pip's going overboard. Pip, this black person, young man, is described positively, but using language that is very stereotypical, that plays on stereotypes that were present in the 19th century. That's described here when it says that Pip, though over tender-hearted, was at bottom very bright, with that pleasant, genial, jolly brightness peculiar to his tribe, a tribe which ever enjoy all holidays and festivities with finer, freer relish than any other race. For blacks, the year's calendar should show naught but 365 4th of Julys and New Year's days. Okay, that's just like so intolerably racist in 2020 that it's shocking. The question is whether Melville, who we know was an abolitionist and we know was anti-racist, is purposely mocking some kind of stereotype of black people always being happy in 1851 due to the obvious irony that many of them are probably miserable in slavery. But this chapter doesn't necessarily explore those political concerns at all after this passage. That's far more done in stuff like chapter 40. Now we move to a metaphor about Pip's love of life, his effervescence, and what the ship does that. It says, "But Pip loved life, and all life's peaceable securities, so that the panic-striking business in which he had somehow unaccountably become entrapped had most sadly blurred his brightness, though, as ere long will be seen, what was thus temporarily subdued in him in the end was destined to be luridly illumined by strange, wild fires, that fictitiously showed him off to 10 times the natural luster with which in his native Tolland County in Connecticut he had once enlivened many a fiddler's frolic on the green, and at Melodious Eventide with his gay ha-ha had turned the round horizon into one star-belled tambourine." So something is going to blur the brightness of Pip, something is going to subdue him, and then it is going to show him off 10 times the natural luster that was normal. So something is going to change Pip, and the metaphor used here is that, but in terms of that change, is that so, though in the clear air of day suspended above against a blue vein neck, the pure water diamond drop will healthful glow. So normally a diamond will glow on your neck, but when the cunning jeweler would show you the diamond in its most impressive luster, he lays it against a gloomy ground and then lights it up not by the sun, but by some unnatural gases. So like he puts a lot of light on the diamond. Then come out those fiery effulgences, infernally superb. Then the evil blazing diamond, once the divinest symbol of the crystal skies, looks like some crown jewel stolen from the king of hell. So that passage seems to be talking figuratively about the ability of some certain aspects of life to change or modify or corrupt the natural goodness or natural aspect of some things. In this case, the diamond, and it's foreshadowed that this will happen to Pip as well, which we know does happen by the end of the chapter. So we move forward, and ultimately Pip falls off the boat, gets tangled in the line, and they have a decision whether to cut the line to make sure they save Pip and lose the whale, or keep the whale on the line and maybe kill Pip. And Stubb makes the right decision and he cuts the line. And then Stubb talks to Pip and he says, "Never jump from a boat, Pip, except," but all the rest was indefinite, as the soundest advice ever is. "Now in general, stick to the boat is your true motto in whaling, but cases will sometimes happen when leap from the boat is still better." And Stubb says, "Stick to the boat, Pip, or by the Lord, I won't pick you up if you jump. Mind that. We can't afford to lose whales by the likes of you. A whale would sell for 30 times what you would, Pip, in Alabama. Bear that in mind and don't jump any more." Hereby perhaps Stubb indirectly hinted that though man loved his fellow, yet man is a money-making animal, which propensity too often interferes with his benevolence. So once again, we have Melville being kind of skeptical of human beings' love of money, which definitely, or at least their willingness to do what benefits them, which is something he was skeptical of in chapter 89 with fast fish and loose fish as well. So Pip is told to stick to the boat, but there's this ominous line that leap from the boat is sometimes better. We're not really sure how that fits in yet. So ultimately, it happens again, and Stubb leaves Pip behind because he thinks that other boats are going to pick Pip up. And it says, now in calm weather to swim in the open ocean is as easy to the practiced swimmer as to ride in the spring carriage ashore. But the awful lonesomeness is intolerable. The intense concentration of self in the middle of such a heartless immensity, my God, who can tell it? Mark how when sailors in a dead calm bathe in the open sea, mark how closely they hug their ship and only coast along her sides. So Pip is abandoned in the open ocean. Remember from back in like the early chapters of the text where we establish that Melville has multiple images in this text for things that are unknowable, things that have knowledge about, that trying to find knowledge about seems to go beyond the boundaries of the human experience or the human condition. The whale is obviously the primary one. The ocean is the secondary one. So Pip is surrounded by this unfathomable, unknowable, inscrutable body of water that is the ocean. So when they pick Pip back up, way too late, what has happened to him? By the merest chance, the ship itself at last rescued him, but from that hour the little Negro went about the deck an idiot, such at least they said he was. The sea had jeeringly kept his finite body up, but drowned the infinite of his soul. Not drowned entirely, though. Rather, carried down alive to wondrous depths where strange shapes of the unwarped primal world glided to and fro before his passive eyes, and the miser merman wisdom revealed his hoarded heaps, and among the joyous, heartless, ever-juvenile eternities, Pip saw the multitudinous God-omnipresent coral insects that out of the firmament of waters heaved the colossal orbs. Okay, that might be close to my favorite sentence in the whole book. What does that mean? I will remember distinctly having a great discussion in college with Dr. Stephen Goldsmith. Shout out Stephen Goldsmith, you're a hell of a professor. Just asking our seminar, 190005, what the hell is Melville talking about with multitudinous, God omnipresent coral insects? I'm not sure that, I think this might be in the realm of poetry, where there is no literal meaning, there is only figurative meaning. And the figurative meaning is quite clear when it says that Pip saw God's foot upon the treadle of the loom and spoke it, and therefore his shipmates called him mad. So it seems that Pip, weirdly, is not barred from penetrating the inner mysteries of the world. What is the nature of the world? Is it full of meaning like in chapter 36? Is it empty like 42? Is there a God creating things and making sure that there's a purpose to things? Why do things happen the way they do? He apparently gets access to all of this knowledge. But even if that knowledge is accessible, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can understand it and that you can mesh that knowledge with real human experience. Like, real human experience is based on the fact that we don't know some things. And even if you quest as hard as you can to find those things out, though Pip didn't intend to find these things out, it just seems accidental that it happens to him. Nevertheless, the effect is to make you virtually unsuitable for going back to being a normal person. Hence, man's insanity is heaven's sense, and wandering from all mortal reason, man comes at last to that celestial thought, which to reason is absurd and frantic, and weal or woe feels then uncompromised, indifferent as is God. So if you try to access the truth of things that human beings are not supposed to know, you might find them out, but it also might drive you crazy. So this is another chapter, not necessarily about the difficulty of knowledge, but about the cost of knowledge, about the price that you might pay if you are unsatisfied with the inherently limited and, to some degree, imperfect knowledge that is a condition of being a human. This, of course, makes me think, and should make all X-Men fans think, of the classic Dark Phoenix story, which is told in X-Men Essential Volume 2, if you're curious. The Dark Phoenix story has been adapted multiple times, but in the original comic telling, how it operates is that Jean Grey gets immense cosmic power because she is manipulated by a bad character named Mastermind. Okay, Mastermind is the person who changes her perceptions and leads her to tap into her true cosmic power. But ultimately, he doesn't get rewarded for this because Jean Grey becomes Dark Phoenix and has all this knowledge and realizes that Mastermind was creating illusions in her head. And so how does she punish him? Well, it always stuck with me when I was a kid and I read this, and it's actually pretty much, I think, pulled directly from chapter 93. So Dark Phoenix, who has now achieved like cosmic power, decides to punish Mastermind by giving him a glimpse of the same power that he is not prepared for. So let's take a look at that. So here's a panel from the comic where Dark Phoenix has figured out that Mastermind was the one manipulating her, and she decides that his punishment is to gain this cosmic knowledge. It's only fair that I return the compliment. Through me you sought power. Very well, then I grant your wish. No, I'll give you power, Jason Wingard, such as no living being has even dreamed of. And notice how the zoom in is on his eye, not only to show his terror, but that what she will do to him is she will change his understanding. Now we transition to the second panel I want to show you, where it demonstrates the effects on Mastermind's psyche of being forced to see the things that he is being forced to see by Jean Grey. And I know this is hard to read because of the formatting of the panel, so I'll make sure to read it. But look at what is happening to him. At Jean's touch, his mind expands at the speed of thought, racing instantly from one side of reality to the other, through all the infinite reaches of space and time. In the blink of an eye, Mastermind finds himself in touch with the universe, his brain flooded with all the myriad absolute contradictory truths of existence. He screams, unable to cope. He runs, unable to escape. He drowns. Notice the obvious parallel to chapter 93, drowning. He is, after all, only human, a man of limited awareness, limited power, limited ability, transformed into a twinkling into a god. Formed in a twinkling into a god. And just look at the anguish and the pain here. Some people can handle the experience, some people can't. Enjoy your trip, Jason. You won't be coming back. In a way, I envy you. You're at peace, and look what happened to Mastermind. Phoenix doesn't know the meaning of the word. Okay? So, I don't know. I just think it's a fun contemporary example of the exact ideas that chapter 93 is talking about, which is, what is the cost of the pursuit of knowledge? Even if you can access it, is there such a thing as a human who could understand these concepts? Or is it better off not trying to find out? Interesting, provocative question. All right, thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video.